Hey there, what's happening? Coach Chris, Team Critical Bench, hanging out here with kettlebell instructor Mike Willie, my kettlebell instructor. And obviously today we went outside. So to continue in our kettlebell tutorial series, we want to go over the fundamental lifts, the lifts that you need to know if you're going to work with a kettlebell. So today we're going to have Mike talk about the kettlebell squat and how to get to the point where you can do a kettlebell squat well, the progressions leading up to it. And so Mike, why don't you just talk briefly about the kettlebell squat, why it's beneficial, and what we need to do to work towards having a good one.
All right. So firstly, with the kettlebell squats, much like a barbell squat, in a front rack position. So we have the load up front, which helps activate the core, but unlike the barbell, with kettlebells, we're activating a little bit more the lats. The grip is a little bit different, so the weight load from a barbell to kettlebells is different. You could get blasted with a little bit lighter load with the front squat with the kettlebell rather than the front squat with the barbell because of its design.
Right.
As far as squatting, we want to have the requisite hip mobility, ankle mobility, proper amount of stability in the midsection, the core, to perform it adequately. So we'll show you some different drills in order to troubleshoot if you're lacking in one area or another in order to do a good squat.
Exactly. And just adding on to what Mike just said, obviously if you're watching this video, you've already seen the swing, the clean, and the press. If you're good at doing your cleans and maintaining a good strong position with the clean, well, you're kind of halfway there.
Yes.
In some regards to doing, the traditional kettlebell squat, holding that really good rack position with the bell. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and have Mike perform some kettlebell squats, and then we're going to break it down a little bit and show some progressions to get people working those muscles in the proper manner to build up to having a truly good squat. So let's go ahead and do 5 or so.
Okay.
We have a 24 kilogram kettlebell here.
Like Chris said, the rack position that we went over in the clean tutorial is of utmost importance. To keep in the tension using that midsection, lat, shoulder, and everything for the squat is important.
Okay, so we have Mike here ready to perform the kettlebell squat. He's going to go ahead and do 5 from the side view and then 5 from a front view, so you can really get a good perspective on how these are supposed to look. And there you have it. Okay, so now that you've gotten to see Mike, who is quite good with a kettlebell, by the way, do 10 kettlebell squats in the rack position, we're going to go backwards a little bit. We're going to go to some of the earlier progressions, things that you should be doing to improve with your kettlebell squats, things to look for, things to be aware of when doing squats. So we're going to do some goblet squats, as well as some other trademark things that I learned, obviously, early on in my kettlebell training from Mike himself. So, Mike, take it away, sir.
All right. So with the goblet squat, we're really working the mobility, the technique of the squat. This could be a good transition as a warm-up before front squats with the barbell, back squats with the barbell. So it's a good exercise in its own right, but it's also a great mobility and teaching tool. So for the goblet squat, we want to hold the kettlebell by the horns. It's right by the base next to the big round bell part. We're going to hold it tight to the body, so we don't want it being loose down here. Chest out, tight to the body. We're going to pull down into the bottom. We're going to learn how to do the squat from the bottom up. So we want this bell tight, We want the bony part of the elbow against the inner part of the knee, nice and tall. And then from here, we're prying the knees open, opening the hips up. We can add in a little bit of a side-to-side shifting, a little rotation, just opening that bottom position in the hips. We can add in a couple of curls right here. The curl, as you lower it away from you, provides a counterbalance so that you can lengthen the spine and get away, kind of a pre-activation of the core, so to speak. From the side, it looks like this, tight to the body. So we don't want it loose, we're rounded over, getting that hunchback, nice and tall, chest out. Again, the inner part of the thigh with the elbows, we don't want it sliding down. Now we're all rolled over into a bad squat
Right,
position.
notice here, you see how he's gone to like a concave, body here? We want that long spine, and Mike does a phenomenal job of getting long and tall. His chest is up, his butt is about as low as it can possibly go, speaking of ass to grass, and he's prying his elbows into his knees, really opening those hips up. I wish mine looked that good.
All right, so we're learning the bottom position here. To get up, we could do the loud grunt, which helps activate the core, up and up into that squat. Pretty lame grunt, but you get the idea.
Well, I think he held the bottom position quite long. That was like a 90-second isometric workout there. So the goblet squat's fantastic, and it's a great exercise to drill with. When we've done stuff where we've done a series of swings with goblet squats, they pair very nicely. It mixes obviously with just about everything very nicely. And in terms of how good, after doing a series of goblet squats and some of that prying and that rotation that he was showing, boy, do your hips feel like ready to go.
Yeah.
You just feel like you're primed and ready for all the other kettlebell exercises. Okay, so now that you've seen Mike in action, we're gonna now go back to a traditional kettlebell and rack position. I'm gonna go ahead and do that, get into squat position, and then Mike can start to point out some of the things to really focus on and be aware of when you're doing a squat and performing this rep the way it's supposed to look, right? Holding a really good rack position, having that long spine, all the things that you saw in the goblet squat. So let's get started. I'll go ahead. Should I stay in profile for this, or you want me to face it?
We'll start profile for the spine, and
Yep.
then we'll go front on for everything. All right, so from that rack position, we want to make sure that we're nice and tight here. We don't want it to be loose away from the body. And then he'll descend down, pull himself down to the floor. Not just dropping, we're pulling into it. Now, for right here, we want that nice long spine here. We don't want any of that butt tucking under. So if you drop down a little bit more, show that little butt tuck. So right there, he lost the stability and the butt kind of winked underneath. We want to go just before that position where he loses his spinal stability. That'd be the bottom of his squat. So he's still tight, he's still using those lats to keep that core stabilized up from there, and he's tight in the midsection right there. From here, he will grunt loudly and ascend. Good.
All right, so I'm gonna now go into a rack position on my left side. Okay, so I got the weight here again, and Mike's gonna just go over a few more points about the kettlebell squat from the front view.
All right, so from the front, what we're looking for is where the knees track. The knees should track outside the toes. We do not want the knees caving in. We do not want the trunk falling forward. So you should be able to read his nice little
like
critical
that.
bench logo up front. And same thing as we did with the side view, he's gonna keep that tension, grunt loudly to help tighten everything up and explode at the bottom of that squat.
Okay, so now that you have some of the basics when it comes to the kettlebell squat, and I'm always still working on perfecting mine. Maybe one day I'll get there. Mike does a lot of great kettlebell drills with us all the time. One of the very basic ones that really provides you a full body workout would be a squat and press combo. So Mike's gonna go ahead and perform some squats and some presses, maybe do a few on each side just to show him. He'll maybe alternate for you, which, you know, taking into consideration, you have to be able to clean the kettlebell, which you've hopefully already watched that video. So you're really getting multiple moves. Obviously you're always hip hinging, so that's what's so neat about this. Everything's building on top of each other. So Michael, take it away with just a simple workout routine that you can work with.
Yeah, like Chris mentioned, the exercises you already learned through the previous videos we've done link really well together. So, you know, you get one piece of equipment, link up a full body workout very quickly, very efficiently. So we're gonna do a clean, just to get it in the rack position, a squat, press. Yeah.
Transition into the other
arm.
And
then other side, get a little change, re-clean it. Now we're into that tight rack position.
And there's so many layers that you can continue to add on with doing that. You can do the ladder drills with something like that. You know, you can alternate. You can do, you know, clean it to one side, do your squat, do your press, and then, you know, alternate, clean it to the other side right away and just go back and forth. There's a lot of different ways to make that one work for you. And like I said, you know, with kettlebell work, so many of the workouts, even if it's just with two movements, it's a full body experience, full body workout. We just did a workout yesterday that only incorporated some swings with some cleans,
press and squat,
but we were with low reps, but we were dead. Of course, we were using two kettlebells, so that's a whole different story. But so now that you have a good understanding of the squat, we're going to get into my most challenged exercise, or maybe the snatch would be the most challenged, but the high pull for me is challenging. So that's our next video, so stay tuned.